Good morning and welcome to the South Waikato Business Support webinar series. I'm Darren McGarvey, co-founder and director of Fire Station. I'm joined by my co-host, co-founder and fellow director, Rachel, who's obviously on this webinar again. And so this is our 10th and possibly our last, actually. So at this stage, there won't be any more, but it's been a heck, and I can't believe we're already at 10. So for those who don't know, just very briefly, Fire Station is a business growth centre. We're based in the central North Island. We work in pretty much every town. We've got a range of coaches and facilitators. We teach sales, marketing, leadership, finance, governance. I mean, pretty much you name it, we cover it. We have partnerships with most economic development agencies, including the South Waikato Investment Fund Trust, and we run subsidised programs as well from time to time. So that's us. I do want to acknowledge the South Waikato District Council and the South Waikato Investment Fund Trust for supporting these webinars. Paul and Francis have been amazing getting behind these, and of course without them it probably wouldn't have happened. So they've been awesome. And I've already said this is probably our last one. We are filming, yes, we're recording it, which is good. So that means you can watch it later if you need to duck away, or if you need to forward it on to a friend. And in fact, all of our previous ones are all available on swnz.co. So swnz.co is where you can find them, and you can sign up. I think you can also sign up to the mailing list there as well, can't you? Yeah.
It's the hot water in the laundry room issue.
We'll just mute that. Right. What else? Oh, we're going to be using the chat function. So if you've got a question, you can just click on chat. You can either ask one of us privately and we'll read it out on an anonymous basis, or you can just type it in where everyone can see, and then we'll take questions on the way through. Or if you really need to get yourself on camera, that's absolutely fine. You can pop yourself video on and wave at us and ask a question. So today's topic is, of course, tourism, and we're very fortunate to be joined by Jason Dawson, who's Chief Executive of Hamilton and Waikato Tourism. He's taken some out of his busy schedule, and in between lots of national, and he even mentioned an international webinar coming up. So what we thought this would be about is obviously advice for the tourism industry, which is under extraordinary pressure, and in circumstances that no one's ever seen before. We've gone from record visitors to none, basically, internationally. So yeah. So Jason's going to talk a bit about some advice around that, what we can be doing around the domestic market, how we can pivot to using the old startup word pivot to look at opportunities locally and I guess nationally, and anything else that might potentially come up. So I think on that note, I'm going to hand the microphone. Oh, and Jason's got some slides as well. So I think, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to hand over to Jason. So welcome, and thanks very much for being with us.
Hey, thanks, Darren. Thanks, Rachel. Kia ora tātou, everyone. Appreciate giving up some time this morning to talk a little bit about tourism, but potentially the opportunity for domestic travel. I just want to acknowledge all the pain, really, that the sector has been going through, and many of you on this call have been experiencing that yourselves. The words I'm using are raw and brutal, and obviously the restart will take a bit longer for us because we were probably the canary down the gold mine with regards to the impact tourism had from last year with some of the disasters we had, and then lastly with Whakaari White Island. The tragedy, which obviously definitely impacted the central North Island with regards to visitor numbers for us before COVID and group travel was stopped out of China. So I do have a few slides for those of you who know me. I'll just quickly share my screen. Hopefully it's the right one. Oh, okay, let me just, sorry, I will just put that into slideshow. Great. All good. Excellent. So we'll just kick off. Just want to acknowledge South Waikato District Council. So they are one of our key partners, and I'll go through a little bit about that district as well, and how potentially there are some opportunities coming up for the area. So look, firstly, just going to cover off, I thought it'd be good to set the scene. This has been quite common for many of you who have not engaged with us before, or have been aware around where tourism was in Waikato before COVID. So good to set the scene, because that will help us look at the opportunity around what's going to come for the future. I'm just going to have a couple of slides on COVID impacts. So we did ask our business community, obviously, how are they impacted, but more around what they want us to focus on over the next 3, 6 and 12 months. So I'll just share some of that with you, because obviously adapting to the domestic market is something that's come through quite strongly. I'll give you an overview of the restart plans. That's how we're going to get tourism up and running, and pretty much it has begun at alert level 2. So I'll give you opportunities and some examples where we will be going out into the market to attract more visitors back into Waikato, and potentially how you can participate in those campaigns. And then lastly, look, that obviously the main focus of today is around how do you adapt or pivot to the domestic tourism market. And obviously, what is the potential? Because there is a lot of research out there, and I'm happy to share some specific spend results for us here in Waikato, and then definitely allow some time for some Q&A. So first up, a little bit about Waikato and where we were as a region before COVID. So we cover 7 districts of the Waikato region. We go over from the Bombay Hills, from Waikato District Council boundaries, all the way down to Waitomo and Otorohanga, and then across to the east to South Waikato, Matamata-Piako, and then back up the Kaimai Ranges. So we have 7 councils that actually contribute to our activity. And we also have a huge industry operator base, which actually also contribute to us as well. So we offer what we call pay-to-play models, and we'll talk about some of those when it comes to restarting the visitor sector for Waikato. Our goal is not only to attract visitors, but it's obviously to supercharge our visitor economy. And also what we moved into about 3 or 4 years ago was co-creating what we call a sustainable tourism destination. So we don't end up in this boom and bust cycle, as many sectors, and particularly tourism, has experienced over many years. What we do more than just visitor marketing. We probably play in the travel trade space, no different to other regional tourism organisations around the country. We also are involved in business events and conventions, and I'll talk the reason about that, because that's potentially going to be one of our lead sectors to get our economy up and running. We also are involved in major event bidding and coordination, and we moved into product and destination development about 4 years ago. So a bit of an overview about who we are as a regional tourism organisation. Where we were pre-COVID, so obviously tourism was our #1 sector. We were the #1 sector for the Waikato. We were bringing in about 1.57 billion into the region. Domestic was our hero, so 75% of our market pre-COVID was already New Zealanders coming here on holiday. They were bringing in 1.2 billion into the region, with international sitting at around 371 million. So we are the 4th largest domestic visitor destination in New Zealand, behind Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. So look, that will play to our advantage when we're starting to restart the economy. We're the 5th largest visitor expenditure internationally, behind Auckland, Queenstown, Christchurch and Wellington. So again, we expect that to obviously plateau until international travel restrictions are lifted in 12 months, hopefully. Commercial guest nights are obviously looking very rosy for us, with an average 1.96 average guest nights across the region. And we're the 4th largest region in the country for business events. So that's conventions, meetings and exhibitions, behind Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. So a really great seed market for us. Before COVID, obviously, international was a key part of us. China was our 4th largest international visitor market. Behind Australia, of course, that's why we're all pushing for the Trans-Tasman bubble to get that connectivity up and running again, at 87.5 million into the region. UK and Europe were bringing in 87.3 million, and then we have our North American cousins. So Canada and the USA bringing in nearly 60 million into the region. So we were impacted immediately with the loss of China group travel in January. So again, with some of the restrictions being lifted around China and in China, we do also expect them to be the lead market to come back and return into New Zealand. Where people spend their money, again, I don't expect you to read all these graphs because it is quite a hard thing, but it's just to show that the spread of the visitor economy is wider, as some of you on this call know. Impacts retail. So New Zealanders love to shop. When they go on holiday in any part of our country, retail is the #1 spend, followed by food and beverage. and then goes into fuel and automotive, alcohol, and then tourism products, passenger transport and accommodation is at the bottom. So we know Kiwis are very much a visiting friends and family market. They traditionally will not stay in commercial accommodation, but again, these are opportunities for us to look at when we're going to restart the economy. From the international perspective though, our international visitors love to spend up on tourism, F&B and retail, and then again, accommodation, passenger transport and other cultural services come through later in the spend. Business events are going to lead our rebound. We have Claudelands Event Centre and we also have the Mystery Creek Event Centre. These are our two largest exhibition and convention centres for the region. The great thing about these two sites is we are moving into hybrid conferences. So we're going to have this mix of Zoom, what we're doing now, but a virtual, but there's also the need for face-to-face connectivity again. So again, we've got most of our business events and conventions have only been postponed until later this year. So we're seeing a pickup literally from Q4 of this year of our convention market back into the region. Why we also like them is they spend double the amount of a leisure traveller. So $300 per night international, we won't be getting any of those for a while, but our domestic visitors for delegates, we're spending on average $461 per day on what I call free money. So their registrations and their transport and their accommodation is already paid for by their workplace. This was just their spend when they visited our region. But let's go into impacts and what's actually happening around our region. So again, we assessed 84 operators for tourism, obviously for South Waikato. That was around 2% of the market, but again, that's quite reflective of the amount of operators we do have in the district. It was a range of operators, obviously only 11% were earning more than 2 million. The bulk of our businesses are SMEs, so less than 500,000 a year, sit around 45%. Where people source their incomes, and again, this will help us when we go now into the restart phase. Corporate market made up 30% of most of people's income or revenue, and then the leisure market sat at around 70%. Activities though, that's where we start to see some diversity come through. Tourism only made up 44%. We had education at 8%. Major events contributed 12% to their activity. Business events and conferences, again, could be meetings of up to 6 people at 15%, and then non-tourism related activities was around 21%. So again, quite a good diverse portfolio with regard to the activities for the bulk of our businesses. The audience is also good for us too when we go into restart. The local markets, those are people who live within the Waikato region, sit around 30% of the market. Domestic tourism, that's outside of Waikato, so people from the Bay of Plenty, Rotorua, Taupo, Taranaki, or our key drive markets of Auckland, sit around 33%, with Australia and our short haul markets in the Pacific at 12%. So again, it'll be great for us to actually move into the domestic market because we're geographically strong where we're located. 3 million people live within 3 hours drive of Hamilton City alone. So again, our drive market is strong. What we asked our businesses was what were some of the actions that you undertook to get through. Again, we don't need to go through all of those, but definitely reducing overhead costs. We saw many of you obviously reduce your staffing levels, reducing hours or potentially letting go of staff. Wage subsidy was highly accessed, but what we saw with the wage subsidy at around 87% was that a lot of the smaller businesses have been able to continue without having to access the wage subsidy. So you can be a bit more nimble. Potentially this was your passive income rather than actually your primary income, so to be in tourism. So good to see that hopefully the extension of the wage subsidy announced last week will just help us get through in the short term anyway. We all know we still need long-term supports to get through. But look, I'll just end there because look, the last thing we asked was what do you want us as an organisation to focus on to help you get through over the next 3, 6 and 12 months. So definitely number one, and that's what we're talking about today, supporting you to reposition your products for the domestic market. Commencing a domestic marketing campaign is number 2, and we'll talk about that. And then again, all the other stuff we expected, restarting major events, getting our meetings and business events market up and running again, advice around strategy and business planning. And again, so a lot of these webinars that have been delivered by Fire Station and South Waikato have been very focused on what I call the foundations of rebuild for many of our businesses. But look, let's talk about the future, the restart plan. So this is our restart plan and pretty much on a page. Number 1 for the first 3 months, which was kind of what I called alert level 4, and starting into Alert Level 3, we focused on the hyper-local market. So we launched Mighty Local campaign, which was a joint campaign with Te Waka, the Economic Development Agency, and that was around promoting essential services. So kind of that buy local online. We also had a lot of wellbeing activities in there, entertainment, and a lot of the virtual tours that our tourism operators were able to provide in an online environment. We're now in startup phase 2 and 3, so we're now in regional and domestic. At the regional level, obviously, we're now starting to see a small startup of our community events. Again, we have event guideline levels of 100 people or 50 for some of the indoor events. We're starting to see some regional business meetings starting to happen again. And we're also moving into interregional travel. So we've restarted our fly and drive market campaigns, and I'll talk about that shortly. But again, we're starting to see corporate travel resume. In New Zealand, we welcomed back our first flight back into Hamilton Airport last Wednesday from Wellington. We now have our Christchurch route reinstated as well. So flights are coming back into Hamilton Airport with Air New Zealand. They have been full. So yesterday's flights from Wellington and Christchurch were all full, given they were operating at half capacity. And then our scenario planning and what we're seeing globally is that we're looking at a 12-month restriction on international travel in and out of New Zealand. So that's going to be a longer term play, but hopefully we'll get that Trans-Tasman bubble up and running by September. So look, just finishing on Mighty Local, we're moving this campaign now, which is our locals campaign, and we're putting it on steroids. So again, we're now in Alert Level 2, so we're now activating our own locals, which we saw made up nearly 30% of the visitor market, to get out there, to eat, event, meet, explore our own region. And obviously there's going to be opportunities for operators to engage in some of that with regards to some of your packages or deals that you'll be offering to try and get more Waikato residents exploring their own backyard. From the wider scale, so we've already restarted what we call our domestic activities. That's in our fly and drive markets. And again, what we're doing today is helping our operators develop packages together and obviously supporting you to get through. July, August, we'll be launching the national domestic marketing campaign with Tourism New Zealand. Again, that will only kick off at Alert Level 1. And then in August, September, we've partnered with all our neighbours. We already work with our neighbours, Rotorua, Bay of Plenty, Coromandel, Taupo, Ruapehu, and Tairāwhiti Gisborne together in the international market. We're going to take a domestic focus and push a winter, spring and school holiday proposition for the North Island. So again, we're already quite a strong visitor market, but together we're going to be even stronger. And this is just a quick overview on a concept phase of how the national marketing campaign will work with Tourism New Zealand. So very similar when they're in an international market, their goal is to inspire. And really they're going to build excitement about domestic holidays. That's mainly with the brand Tourism New Zealand will lead. They will then break into consumer segments, and look, and I'll talk about those, because when it comes to restarting the domestic visitor economy, we do need to look at the segments or the audience segments that you're going to target and focus for the future. And then we'll be going out there to try and deliver offers. And again, we'll be reaching out to you as our operators to see how you wish to engage as part of doing offers at a regional level. So that's how a bit of a framework of the national marketing strategy will work. Look, let's get into the power of domestic. So look, we know a recession is looming for us as a country. The government are obviously trying their best to still keep people spending. Great to see retail bounce back over the weekend. There's only been an 11% drop for retail expenditure over the weekend. That's significant given we were probably only operating at 10% for retail during Alert Level 4. But we know that there might be less free money, but there is definitely still New Zealanders out there that are prepared to spend, and we'll talk about that. Look, the closed borders, and I'll talk about that opportunity, is giving Kiwis the impetus, because they cannot go to Fiji for their winter break. They can't go up to Europe for a month. They will be staying at home. So there is an opportunity to try and recreate some of those opportunities and products and experiences that they would expect to experience offshore. But what we're seeing with our research is definitely Kiwis have been really passionate, and we'll talk about price with their passion. There's obviously this perception around the overpricing for some of our major international tourism operators, but they also don't know the different experiences we have in our own backyard. People do know Queenstown. They'll definitely know Rotorua for what it is, but they might not know Rotorua for what it is today. And they definitely do not know Waikato for what it is today. So again, it's about trying to teach people, educate them, and inspire them to hopefully then book these different experiences around our country. We know Kiwis travel differently. And again, this is a bit of a pinch point right now for our tour operators. Kiwis are self-explorers. We're more likely to self-drive. We love a deal, and we'll talk about some of the perceptions around grabbing a deal as Kiwis. So again, just the way we travel is very different compared to the international market. And then lastly, look, we kind of know the tourism industry post-COVID will look differently. We are not going to have all the operators that we had before COVID. We potentially might lose some of our operators. We might lose some of our hotels around the country. And we also might, it'll change the way that we also travel long term. So again, it will look different. But again, this is going to be a restart rather than a recover program for the country. So this was some fantastic research that was undertaken by Research First just back in May, still this month, sorry. And look, just some key points here. Look, 70% of New Zealanders, when asked, well, are they prepared to travel in their own country, have said yes, they are, but they want to stick to their island. So again, the new population stats that have just come out, 5 million people now are in New Zealand. They've all come home, the expats. What we do expect is a lot of New Zealanders potentially have come home will stay home permanently now. We will lose some, but overall, we're going to see more and more New Zealanders wanting to travel within the North and South Islands. The good thing for us is we live geographically in the Golden Triangle. So we have the bulk of the population in the Upper North Island and the Central North. So again, 14% will take a staycation here. 13% will want to travel, but still a bit nervous, so will only travel locally, whereas 16% will travel between the North and South Islands. So we still have a great opportunity to capture some of the visitor market domestically. What we see here is nearly 40% are definitely looking to take a domestic break within the next 3 months. So what I'm reminding people is, pre-COVID, we probably had Waitangi weekend and maybe anniversary weekend. Ever since then, there's been no New Zealand holidays. Everyone's had holidays and lockdown. So there is already a pent-up demand that people have missed Easter, they've missed Anzac weekend. We've got school holidays looming that actually people are going to want to travel. And they do want to take more than weekend breaks. And we'll talk about the different types of breaks people want. But look, 60% of the domestic market consider the cost of tourism activities off-putting. I know for many of you, that's been hard because you have compliance costs, you have to do qualifications, you've got resource consents, you've got the same amount of overhead costs that any other business is having to endure. However, when we see this perception that, we're ripping people off, it does really hurt. So again, we can talk about some of the opportunities around pricing and how we can get through. But look, the great thing for all of you on this call today is booking direct by Kiwis is the #1 way that they love to travel. So we love bargains, as we know. Cheap deal websites are obviously still going to be there, and they're a potential opportunity for you as well, just to build that awareness of your products and experiences. And then again, these are just different types of length of short breaks. So look, I'll make this presentation available at the end anyway for everyone to share and follow up. So this is the two pies. What New Zealanders on the left have actually been spending on international travel. So, we're pretty keen to travel. At 9.3 billion, we go offshore. 70% is spent on travel experiences, and air transport makes up 30% of that. On the domestic front, though, it's nearly 18 billion. And as you can see, air transport only contributes 8% because we do love to self-drive. We're explorers ourselves. So again, that is a piece of the pie that we hope to get a pretty good cut of, as well as the outbound travel. Because if Kiwis can't travel this year, then they want to be spending hopefully their holiday money and their savings in New Zealand. For us here in the Waikato, look, drive is a key market for us. So domestic visitor spend, if you can see, the Waikato residents themselves, they bring in around 353 million into the region every year. Auckland, it's around 315 million. And then we have all these other regions that are prepared to drive to us. Northland, Gisborne, Tairāwhiti, Hawke's Bay, Taranaki, Wellington. And Canterbury is definitely a key fly market for us. If we then look at the drive market just within our local area, again, you can see Waikato's still strong, and that big market just up the road, Auckland, is going to be a real key enabler for us to get up and running again. I'll talk about digits soon, because this is an opportunity for you to do some research. But look, the Domestic Growth Insight tool, this has been all collated from there. We're seeing obviously mini breaks. We've had a few people from Auckland down this weekend exploring our region. They averaged around 1 to 3 nights. That's around 28%. We're going to see the longer breaks coming soon as people start to return to work, those that are 55 plus potentially with a bit more dispensable income, not tied to school holidays, are going to be prepared to come into the region for a bit longer. And then we have the day tripper market, which again is really strong for us given our geographic location at 61%. And then this is just a bit of research around what people, how people actually decide when they will book. Is it, more than 6 months out? Is it a week out? Is it literally last minute? So again, a lot of this data, I'll show you where you can source it yourselves and target it based on the audiences that you wish to target around New Zealand. What we see here is two types of graphs. One talks about from Digit, and again, I won't go into that one, but a big piece of traveller in the domestic market is family. So family market's quite big at 21%. And then having some fun with kids is around 16%. And then we'll talk about all the other types of things, watching, participating, exploring nature, so doing short walks, going surfing, right through to going on our cycle trails are definitely great attractors for people into our region. On the right-hand side was the most recent research done by Horizon Poll. So this asked people around if they intended to take a holiday over the next 7 to 12 months after restrictions are all lifted, what are you looking for? Again, scenery, just that landscapes, reconnecting back with nature and relaxing is really strong for us. And again, strong proposition for South Waikato particularly. Catching up and meeting people, again, the socialization is quite a big part. But again, we see people wanting experiences. They want walks, they want trails, they want to move around, and they definitely want some adventure activities. So again, we see these as really strong opportunities to anchor the proposition back into South Waikato. So how do we adapt or pivot to the domestic market? What I say to everyone right now is the word is not pivot, it's innovation. It's something we've always talked about in businesses. It's a new way, it's a new idea, or it's a new product. It's just adjusting things to the way we do things. And literally, not all innovations are specifically sought. Just like what's happened with COVID, they are forced on us. They arise in a response to a problem or a need. So travel restrictions came in within 48 hours and our visitor economy came to a standstill. So again, we have had to adapt, pivot, adjust, and look at different ways to obviously keep ourselves going as a sector. And look at a quick example of an innovation. This is obviously a screenshot of a continental breakfast buffet in a hotel. Buffet breakfast actually emerged back in the 1860s when a hotelier in France, all his staff rang in sick that morning. He had no way to serve all his guests, so he put all the food out for everyone to self-serve. Again, that was an innovation that was driven by a problem. He provided this as an idea, and now it's pretty much embedded across the hotel sector. So again, some of these things that we're seeing and how we're going to improve ourselves as a sector, whether it be a productivity issue or a process change, will hopefully benefit us in the long term. It's not just around getting through the short-term pain. So look, some of the ideas and ways that obviously you can adapt your business model right now. You need to research the domestic market. I've already touched on some of the high-level stuff around how different we are when we travel our country and particularly our own region. So again, you need to find out their needs and wants so that you can create packages or alignment that actually talk to them. So for example, people love cycling in New Zealand. Going on our cycle trails is a big part of being a New Zealander now on a holiday. However, they also want, as we know, some great accommodation, some fantastic food and beverage, and they potentially want to experience some retail offering, whether it be a gallery or experience some arts and culture and activities. So again, if you go to digit, digit.nz, the Domestic Growth Insight Tool has been around for 3 years. We funded that with Tourism Industry Aotearoa, or the tourism agencies, to provide insight that people can plan. You can break down the audience numbers and the segments. So again, it's already done for you. It'll talk about the segments of like, double income, no children, the couples market. It'll talk about the group of friends market. It'll talk about the families market and the types of things that they would expect to be packaged together for them, where they would potentially source that information and how they will travel to get there, and potential price points with regards to how much they want to spend. Digit is also just being updated right now. Given we're in post-COVID, we want to start to see some more updates to the channels and how people and New Zealanders are going to book their holidays and actually find those deals. So that's all being done now, and Digit will be refreshed shortly. And look, another great opportunity for everyone right now, we've seen that with already a lot of our businesses, is to create a new product or experience. So look, talk to your eyesight. Your eyesight visitor information centres are up and running. So back in South Waikato, obviously Tito, the Tito team are there now. Have a chat to us and I'll give you our contact details at the end. Or if you're already working with the trade market, start reaching out to your inbound tour operators and ask them, because a lot of them are pivoting to the domestic market right now. So again, you've always potentially had a great idea of something you thought could work for the New Zealand market. Now's your chance to test it. Also, you've got great products and experiences already. Many of you are already doing it. So maybe it's just an opportunity to modify or improve it. Again, start with your team. Talk to your people first. We see that whether it be in crisis or when we want to innovate or to be more sustainable as a business. Talk to your people and ask them, what do you think? Because if you could actually, all you have to do is, put a packet of chocky biscuits out at morning tea, ask them if we were to redo our business again, or look at some of the things we do that actually we can improve our productivity or talk better to our customers, then actually share those ideas. So again, ask your own people first and look within. Also listen to your customers. Look, you've hopefully got oodles of customer feedback with regards to reviews from sites, but also direct feedback. And maybe there's been a regular thing that they've asked you that you thought, oh, it would have been great if we could get transport to your activity. Would have been great if there was a late night service. So again, look at your customer feedback and see if there potentially is always an opportunity there that you thought, hey, my customers have been saying this for years, but we've never done it. Now's our chance to have a look. I talk about forming alliances. So again, reach out to people in your neighborhood. You might have a motel or a B&B in your area. You might have a product or an experience like a kayak company nearby. You might have a cycle hire company. Again, reach out to all of them and maybe potentially form alliances together. And also talk to domestic tour operators and your local providers. Ask each other, what do you think based on the research we've done and some of the products that we all operate, are they complementary? Should we all club together and create a package for that? That leads me into the next one around packages, but I'll talk about the different price points. There's been some great webinars going out there around pricing. And one of the best ones recently said, as an industry, we don't want to have a race to the bottom. We're already starting to see 50% discounts emerge, but we're also starting to see a lot of our operators hold the true value of what you guys are all delivering. Look, in Rotorua Canopy Tour has been really public. They're going to hold their value. Hobbiton will still be holding their same value. Their tours will be a little bit shorter, but overall, look, they're going to hold value true to what they believe it is to deliver a world-class experience. So, however, as we know, though, we have the deal hunters in our country. So I always say, look to the Air New Zealand or the hotel model. Provide a base price, could be the seat, provide seat plus bag, that could be for some of the larger families or smaller families. But then you'll have the Works and the Works Deluxe model, where there are some in our community, the 55 plus market, potentially the Motorhome and Caravan Association members, the group of friends all going away on a weekend. They are prepared to spend a little bit more to obviously have a world-class experience, and they want all the bells and whistles. So again, provide pricing options that suit the different audiences or segments that you're going to target. And then lastly, find a new source of supply. Look, through crisis, we've definitely seen everyone want to come together as communities. We've seen a lot more localism with regards to supporting and buying locally. It's now a better time than ever to go out and reach out to your community. One, let them know you exist. Most people might have driven past your property or your motel or any of your experiences and never ever stopped, never ever took time to find out what is on their own backyard. So now more than ever, reach out to kind of get in contact with your local medias, talk about your stories, because many of you are doing other types of things while we've been in lockdown. Some of our operators have been planting 10,000 trees, native trees, to restore gullies. You're doing maintenance. You're potentially pivoting and getting your products ready to reopen. So again, tell those stories. They're personal. And also it just gives that awareness in your local communities. Reach out to your local membership and sports clubs. They're going to restart again soon. They might always regularly have meetings or inter-club tournaments. That again, they're always looking for accommodation. They're looking for things to do, looking for places to eat. So again, just reach out, find out a little bit more about your community. Where's your nearest big businesses? Where are your corporates? Reach out to farming networks. The dairy industry is about to go into dry off from June. So again, opportunities where some New Zealanders are prepared to travel during June. So again, just look at different types of audiences and places to reach out to people. There's going to be some more professional advice available for you all. So Qualmark obviously is going to lead the Tourism Advisory Support Program. So for those of you who are either Qualmark members or not, you can register to access that support service. So they're providing their business advisors free of charge. Go to qualmark.co.nz and obviously sign up and fill out the form there around the types of services that they can offer you during restart. Your digital checklist, so hopefully during your lockdown, you've been spending time on the fundamentals of your business, as well as learning to bake these lots of different recipes. But look, update your website. How have you been investing on your website? Are you going to look to offer online booking? Do you have a live inventory for your experiences right now? Have you updated your Google My Business listing, or has it been left there languishing, saying you're open 7 days a week between 10 and 12? Again, there was temporary closure opportunities that were released by Google that you could have updated all of that. You could have still been putting some inspirational stories and posts on Google My Business. Online reviews, again, go back through all of those through TripAdvisor, Facebook, and Expedia, just to see, is there any unanswered? Are there some that actually need to reach out to? And potentially look at their feedback. What were they asking you or talked great about, or things to improve that actually you could adapt now into your product mix? And again, Facebook and Instagram, it's a good time now to start inspiring people. So get back on there, show them that you're still here, talk about some of your personal stories, and again, start to inspire New Zealanders about returning. Because look, repeat visits are going to be really key. If someone has done your experience or stayed with you, then you want to try and, hook into them to come back and visit you again. And then lastly, if you're on the Tourism New Zealand operator database, have you updated that? While you've been in lockdown. So look, there's going to be a lot more free digital marketing advice available for you this week. We're running a free webinar with Maverick. So again, that's going to be on Friday at 11. It's going to talk specifically around how you can drive to the domestic travel market, to your websites, to your social channels, and what types of SEO, search engine optimization, what types of paid advertising you should be doing online. So just register at waikatonz.com/COVID-19. That's where you can access all the webinars and resources as well. But look, there's lots of people out there touting your business right now. So I'll just quickly wrap up with some of the ones that obviously are going to be paid and some that are free that you can do. So again, AA Traveller is one of our biggest domestic marketing agencies. They've also got one of the biggest amount of members that they can activate quite quickly. So again, I've put a little $ with a hand up there because all of these ones obviously offer what we call commission rates. So a lot of people get a bit hit up. If you've never worked in the trade space, look, have a chat with us, give us a call. Because look, trade, you have to pay a commission, but the good thing about commission is what I say is commission, they're doing all the work for you. They're doing the marketing, they're arranging the bookings, they're bringing people to you. So actually that's cost that potentially you would have had to do on your own. So commission is good. No matter what people say about it. Obviously, Air New Zealand and Expedia, they have a partnership program for AirPoint members. So we're seeing a lot of the travel membership groups and the loyalty programs activate to try and get their New Zealand-based AirPoint members out and about. They're also going to be profiling a lot of the Qualmark sustainable businesses as well as part of the Air New Zealand Expedia partnership. So again, if you're already a Qualmark member, and you already have some green star ratings, look, that's going to be a great opportunity to have your product showcased. So again, reach out through Qualmark as well. Barter Card has also activated quite quickly. So for those of you who potentially you might be a motel or a B&B operator that obviously offer Barter Card as well. Again, it's more of a transaction to transaction. You provide a trade, someone provides you a free night. Look, they have a big business database as well, and they're literally trying to offer as many New Zealand holidays through Barter Card as possible. So again, just another opportunity as well to provide some opportunities to trade. Flybuys is obviously activating as well in the domestic market, so we're going to see this huge push across everyone. They've also partnered with Hello World, so obviously Hello World offers Flybuys points. Some of you may offer Flybuys points as part of your experience or activities. Again, it's two-pronged. You can either earn Flybuys by doing your travel or experience or activity or stay, but also they can earn Flybuys by booking through Hello World one of your activities. So again, these are all commission-based types activities as well. I've talked about the New Zealand Motorhome and Caravan Association. Look, a real key part of our market. They have obviously a lot of members. They can travel when they can. Unfortunately, though, this kind of misses out our accommodation sector a bit because people are more likely to stay in their camper vans or motorhomes. But the other parts of our visitor economy do actually benefit from them. And look, and we do have a few motorhome friendly towns that are called by the association. Obviously, Tokoro and Putararu and Tiro are obviously in South Waikato, and Mangakino are our motorhome free towns, friendly towns within the south. But also we've got Taumaranui and Te Kuiti as well. As part of that membership and as part of that group, there's also another opportunity called Off the Beaten Track, which is actually run out of Hamilton here by Michelle Connell. So if you've got a property in a rural destination that you want to open up, potentially to motorhomes and caravans or campers, or potentially you might have an old cabin on your site or a farm cottage, again, you can list your property with Off the Beaten Track. So this is starting to gain a real popularity for privately owned destinations and access as well. So real hidden gems that you might have at the back of your land. Travelbug obviously was the old Trade Me travel site. They're reaching out now to you all, obviously asking for some shortlisted deals. And then obviously they're starting to pull together packages as well. So again, this is just making you aware there is commission rates available that you will have to pay for any of these listings and bookings, but we're happy to talk you through if you've never worked with in the travel trade space. There's also been some new initiatives that have come out. So again, these are new domestic travel websites. Deals for Kiwis launched only a couple of weeks ago. Again, you can list your business. There is obviously more commission there, but it's very minimal and very similar to the next website, Save My Bucket List. They're offering voucher schemes. So again, if people can't experience now or in the next 2 weeks, pre-buy a voucher or a bucket list activity on there. It's a New Zealand-based company. Same technology that was used by SOS Cafe. So David has shared that technology, given it to the tourism sector and said, look, adapt SOS Cafe to Save My Bucket List for tourism. So again, they only charge, I think it's $5 for $100 vouchers that you might pre-sell on that. And then there is this plethora of domestic travel Facebook groups. Again, these are free. You can just jump onto the groups. You can list just a couple there, Live, Love, Explore, the Travel Aotearoa Facebook group, and then obviously Travel Locally New Zealand. These are just a skim of the ones that have all emerged in the last 3 weeks. So again, these are just free things where you can promote your package, your product. We've seen huge success with the Buy New Zealand Made Facebook group, where literally some artists or people selling products have managed to sell out and pre-forward sales for the next 12 months. And then you've got your retailers. So obviously, with no international travel available, people like Flight Centre and House of Travel are now pivoting themselves into the domestic market by launching domestic packages and flights and travel accommodation. So Holidays at Home is being launched very shortly by House of Travel. They're obviously asking all New Zealanders what sorts of deals or packages they want out of us. And then there's Flight Centre have launched Kiwi Escapes. Again, we can help with access to some of that sort of stuff. There is commission rates that are going to be expected if you start to play in the retail travel space as well. So again, look at already where were you getting your revenue from the domestic market before COVID? How were they accessing you? What channels were they booking you on? Because potentially those are the ones you need to go back to first before you then look at all these other new opportunities. Because as you can see, every man and their dog is now running around trying to push domestic travel. So you just, if you need some independent advice, feel free to give us or the eyesight a call about that. And then lastly, inbound tour operators. So we have our Waikato-based one is Leisure Time Tours. They are one of our biggest inbound tour operators in the region. They have a fleet of coaches. They were already playing in the domestic travel space. Again, they've already launched their new products. And so if you want to get on to any of these products, get in touch with Leisure Time Tours, and they can obviously do all the marketing for you. They can guarantee numbers of visitors that can come through your door, which really helps with planning or buying stocks or goods if you're definitely in that sort of market. Aroha Tours is a luxury New Zealand tour product. Veronica is based in Tokoro. So again, this is just a local face for many people. You can have a chat to Veronica about potentially how you might want to add some of your products or experiences into her tour packages. She's obviously launched a luxury escape 3-day into the region, but there are plenty of other sizes and markets that she's targeting as well. So again, you can reach out to Aroha Tours and have a chat with Veronica locally. You can also talk to your great rides. So look, in South Waikato, we have the Waikato River Trails. We also have Timber Trail down in Pururua Forest and the Hauraki Rail Trail. So again, reach out to the cycle trails, have a chat to them to see if there's any opportunity to package, support, or provide any sort of advice around how you can try and activate and be part of some of the visiting cyclists that will come back into our region as well. And then you can talk to our iSites. Look, your iSites are there. They provide free local advice. They are going to be stood up soon as our domestic travel agency. They can book everything around the country except flights. So again, people in Queenstown and an iSite will potentially be booking trips for people and activities to come back to Waikato. So it's really important you do engage with not only your local iSite, they will give you access to the national iSite network. And then you've got your industry organisations. Look, Tourism Industry Aotearoa are still there. They're doing some great work, but look, definitely have a look at the sustainability commitment. It's also a good opportunity to adapt and cut costs, but also look at some different ways you can hopefully come out of this being a bit more stronger from a sustainability perspective. Tourism New Zealand, they have lead the Tiaki Promise, again, our environmental care code. So again, as part of your restart, maybe look at Tiaki and how you can integrate that into your business. And then we have all these other great associations that are providing advice to you. Tourism Export Council around trade, the Bed and Breakfast Association around hospitality guidelines and around accommodation guidelines, and HOSPO with regards to some of the contact tracing and hygiene rules that you would need to apply to reopen. So look, just wrapping up, obviously we're here along with, if you're on this call from other regions around the country, make sure you reach out to your local regional tourism organisation. You can email any of us, info@waikatoNZ.com. Obviously, we've got the trade and the marketing team. We've got the development and industry capability team. And then we also have the conventions and marketing team that can help you there as well. We're providing plenty of resources just for tourism-related businesses at WaikatoNZ/COVID-19. And then you should also sign up to our newsletter if you don't already. We're putting out weekly newsletters at the moment with all the new resources and updates for the sector. So if you just go to waikatonz.com, scroll down to the footer, you'll be able to access our information and sign up. So that's the presentation from me. I'll take that off share screen and happy to take questions.
That's great, Jason. So yeah, opening up for questions from anyone who's on the call. Obviously, there's a lot of information. Does anybody, you can unmute yourself or pop it in the chat. No? Well, actually, I've got a question. Well, someone else is thinking about one, and that's we saw a stuff. I think it was a stuff article last week, maybe late last week, about business events caps raising to 100. Is that? I haven't been able to verify that on a government website. I haven't done a lot of searching, but I was trying to find some detail behind that that stuff article. But is that your understanding as well?
Correct. So business events and conventions is now up to 100. So that did now happen. So that was adjusted for alert level 2. And you're definitely seeing a lot of those adjustments with the government once they released the initial guidelines. So look, we pushed for that because obviously some people are still prepared to meet. And that has now been increased. I think it came out the same day as they increased the 50-person limit for funerals in Tangi as well.
Right. Yeah. Look, I mean, that's quite exciting. We've got a charity that runs business after fives every month, basically, and we did our last one online, and we're just contemplating what we do at the end of this month. So to see that, we're looking like you think at the start you said like a hybrid event at your larger venues. So that's exactly what we're thinking about, and so I think that's quite exciting. If you can have a ticketed, and that doesn't have to be that complicated. It just means registering, really, isn't it?
Oh, correct. That's right. And there's plenty of online ticketing that, for no charge, that obviously you're just registering, getting people's email address and contact details. And then that provides contact tracing. You just need physical distancing with regards to the meeting. But look, all those guidelines are available online around what we call meeting safely for events now.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Right, we've had a question from Dean. How do you tap into branding and resources for Mighty Waikato? And how are you working with local initiatives like Totally Local, Cambridge, etc.?
Yep. So we have been working with all the business associations and the chambers of commerces of the region. So Mighty Local pretty much is our regional activation for travel, for visit. We supported the buy local and the support local, but again, we didn't see that replacing what all our local communities have. So we have Totally Locally Cambridge, South Waikato have a We Want You type business support program as well. Te Aroha have their own one. So again, it wasn't about replacing it, but look, all of those associations were aware of it. We just wanted to generate regional stimulus. And now it's going to go back from the buy local. Now we can reopen our retail and our hospitality providers, and we're definitely seeing that going back to the local focus. Mighty Local will then move into the visit phase. So just trying to get more Waikato residents out and about locally. So in the other part you asked was about branding. So if you get in touch with us at info.waikato.nz, look, we're also on our website. The Mighty Waikato branding is there, the story, and there's also the video that you can use to obviously promote the region as well. Incorporate that into your marketing.
Yeah, nice. Cool. The other comment I can see there is just a thank you to Jason for the webinar and an insight. And Dan's got a full page of notes that he needs to work on.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Well, we've got our tourism expert on. Right. Okay. All right. Well, perhaps we'll wrap it up because we're coming up on an hour. One thing I was going to say, one of those just towards the end there of Jason's presentation, he was talking about that digital marketing webinar. We're also running an online marketing tips one this afternoon as well at 2. So we did one for South Waikato earlier on in this series, but if you missed it, and you want to catch one, we've got one this afternoon as well, and you can just go to our website, thefirestation.nz/training, and there's a link to that webinar as well. But we'll film that, and that'll be online too. Yeah, just quick reminders because we are kind of wrapping up, and don't forget there is the small business cash flow loan. I was talking to a client yesterday. They were planning on applying for it and just popping the money aside, even though they don't technically need it right now, but they just thought it'd be best to hang on to it. And given that if you repay it within 12 months, there's no interest, that's not a bad strategy. And I've always been a fan of having funds or facilities available as a backstop. So, have a look into it. And see if you can apply for that, because there is a criteria that you have to be eligible for the wage subsidy.
And can I just jump in? You're probably about to say it, but I'll just jump in. The free business coaching and training for businesses impacted by COVID-19. You may have seen that on the Regional Business Partners Network, it says that the COVID-19 funding is fully exhausted. I'd just like to say that is not true for Waikato. So Te Waka, who manage that scheme, still have funds available. So if you are interested in getting free advice and support in business planning, financial management, marketing, growing revenue, then get in touch with Te Waka. Go to their website, Te Waka, I think it's tewaka.nz. Is it tewaka.nz, and you can register interest there. But there is a finite pool of funds, so if you are interested, I urge you to register as soon as you can so that you get your place in the queue.
Yeah, we've already had clients in other districts been told they're missing out, but there is, if you are somewhere else, there's also the normal 50% subsidised funding is still available, I understand, as well. So we've been using that for a while, and there's a lot of providers that are available through that. So, reach out, and if you can, it's worthwhile looking into it. I was just going to say as well, Jason touched on pivoting or innovation in your business. We did a webinar a few ago called Growing Revenue, and in there I've got about 6 different frameworks in an hour and a quarter on innovating. So there's lots in there on the Innovators Method and the Lean Startup, and lots of others. So go back and pull that up and have a look through it, because hopefully it'll give you some ideas on how to go about innovating in your business. and as we've said before, we have been impacted significantly by this. So we are we are innovating as well. I think that's pretty much it, actually. So if this is our final webinar, thanks very much for those who've been with us all the way through. Thanks for dialing in and looking at them. Thanks to Jason for being our tourism guru and expert. Got a ton of knowledge there. So, reach out to him. He's there to help, and his team as well. So I think that's us, Rach, isn't it?
It is indeed. Thank you, everybody.
So, thanks very much, and we'll hopefully we'll see you around, maybe in person.
Everyone, take care. Kia kaha.